You're listening to the Shipyard Cat Podcast, the unofficial SAFC podcast for fans everywhere.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the pod. We're here to talk about that phenomenal, or should I say, I think it's now the 7th win in a row against our local rivals, and 10 undefeated, Robin.
Yeah, it's not the 7th win in a row, though, is it?
Yeah, because we don't count the FA Cup.
Yeah, but
There's
it
draws
still
in
wasn't
between.
then. There was a draw.
Aye, wins are wins. But
Yes.
nevertheless, we're going to break it down. Obviously, we're all three very happy lads about this. So as everybody's already heard, Robin's here and Kev's here. How we doing, lads?
Yeah. Oh, look, what a first game back for me, after everything that happened, to come back to that. Yeah, I'm ecstatic, over the moon. It's, I think the funniest thing, though, is the meltdown. For a game which they said wasn't important, was their third most important game that week.
Mm-hmm.
Today's and yesterday's meltdown, some fans wanting the manager sacked. It's obviously not good enough and all that. Yeah, it's fantastic to beat them. It always is.
Yep. Likewise, Kev, how are you, mate?
Unreal, mate. Work's been brilliant today. Like, it's probably been one of the busiest days I've had. It's also been one of the quietest days in an office that's got a few in there and a few Mackems. Yeah, it's certainly been entertaining a day to listen to them. All the excuses came out. We're tired. It's been a hard week. We didn't put everything in. Oh, you only won because we scored the goal. Like, just, yeah, what a weekend. If only it was on Saturday, because then we'd have had all of yesterday to wind them up as well. But I suppose we've just got now until March.
Yeah, exactly. I can contest to that with you there, Kev, where obviously I'm working in the back end of Newcastle, as we know. The majority of that workload that I deal with are all mags. I was in the office there today and only one said hello, and the rest of the day, it was like a pin drop in that office. It was very bizarre considering it's normally really noisy on the court floor. But digress, let's get into the mix straight away. Obviously, we know the winning goal was an own goal, which I want to touch on with how brilliant that header was by Voldemade. Credit where credit's due.
Adam, I hate you. Obviously, it's not Voldemade, it's Voltamachen.
Well, sorry, apologies. Correct. Thanks for correcting me. I have seen him in the Sunderland shirt recently. Yes. Well, come on, lads. Robin, I want to start with you because obviously it was your first game back. After your operation, obviously me and Kev wanted you back, especially for this game as one of the big ones. Mate, you came back with an absolute bang there. Pardon the pun of your operation.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things, obviously it's obviously still sort of recovering in a little bit. It's going to take a while, but it's just to get back, and I'm sort of like almost back to full health sort of thing. But I couldn't miss that game, and I mean, just to see, sorry, excuse me, but just to see you lads before the game and that as well.
Yeah.
Just sort of like, it makes it all that much better. It's I mean, yeah, what a game. I mean, it's one of those that, I mean, I felt confident, obviously it's not the scoreline I predicted, but I always felt confident that we'd keep a clean sheet. I didn't realise how inept they'd be in front of goal.
Mm-hmm.
I expected a bit more of them, but look, it wasn't a game of loads and loads of chances anyway.
Yeah.
But they didn't turn up for the first hour. There was absolutely nothing from them. I mean, even after, we went ahead, I mean,
Yep.
I must say, I mean, we'll touch on the goal later, but I think, even after we went ahead, it still took them, like I say, 15 minutes before they even actually mustered an attempt. And it was quite a tame effort by Bruno, and obviously Ruff said it covered nicely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit of a strange game. A few tasty challenges going in. Obviously Robbie getting booked for, waving the imaginary card when I lost count of the amount of times that he got clipped on the back of the heels and on his Achilles and that, studs down him and that, and the referee just waved it off. I mean, I thought the referee was absolutely atrocious, to be honest.
Mhm.
He seemed to be letting him do nothing. I mean, it's like Bruno. As soon as someone looked at him, he was falling on the floor.
Yep.
And yet with our players, you could see they're getting pushed over, getting their shirts pulled, and absolutely nothing. I mean, I think Jacques had made a point of saying it to him, that Bruno was going down getting free kicks, which seemed to be their game plan, getting free kicks and trying to get the ball in the box. Obviously for Voltamada and Dan Burn, obviously while he was on the pitch. I mean, latest update, he's, fractured a rib and punctured a lung or something. So obviously we're all wishing him the best recovery on that.
You clearly won't be.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I thought it was a harsh booking, that one, because they were both sliding for a long way.
Yeah.
And Mukiele realised he wasn't going to get there and actually pulled his feet out of it, which possibly what caused, the damage to Burn. But that was just a coming together. That was a 50-50 ball. Like I say, I think that was a bit harsh booking, that one. And then obviously while we're talking about bookings, there's a few of them at the end. Obviously, as they do their usual thing and want to start fighting whenever they lose a match.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the end of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I think, look, the only bit of fight they showed was in the 90th minute. That's the general sort of comment I've heard from their supporters is, why is it took 90 minutes and a bit of handbags before they showed any fight? I mean, for me, Bruno would be a good player if he stayed on his feet. There is a talent there. He is a good player and he's got a good shot on him. But he spends far too much time, not just in the derby, far too much time during his game trying to draw fouls. I'm sorry, but you do not play for Arsenal. You're not going to get anything from a set piece. And that's all he seemed to try and do. And I'm sorry, but Eddie Howe got it wrong. For them, he got it wrong. He tried too many things that didn't work. He tried Anthony Elanga, and he achieved nothing. He tried Claire Balding and achieved nothing. Voltamada up front did nothing. He then brought on Visser, who did nothing. He ran out of ideas. I think he genuinely thought he was going to be setting up against the team they beat in the Cup 2 years ago. He naively thought, I'll pump some long balls in, I'll attack them with pace, and this will be a walkover. And 25 minutes in, Ramsdale had to start with the time wasting because they'd ran out of ideas. And then the injury to Dan Burn, that broke them. They did not have a clue what to do at that point because they lost their height. Malik Chow, I'm surprised he even stayed on the pitch. We talk about cards. He goes through the back of Roos and clatters him on the back of the head with a fist. Like he runs past him like that sort of motion people can't see on a podcast, but he clatters him over the back of the head with his fist. And nothing given. And then obviously later on in the game, he then has the handbags in the 94th minute. Well, like you say, the referee had an absolute stinker because he just didn't have the discipline. He felt the best thing to do was what every referee has done so far, which is punish the Sunderland players early to try and stamp out the bad discipline. But it's not necessarily the Sunderland players that have got the problem.
Exactly.
Robbie getting carded for asking for the card. Yeah, I agree. That is what it is. That is what happens. But that was the third or fourth time Tonali had studied him. And that's why he asked for the card. He literally said to the referee, 3, 4 card. And the referee went, yeah, there's your card. That's not what he meant, ref, but you do you. And then Tonali, I think, eventually got carded quite late on in the second half, I think he got carded. And well, if you'd have carded him correctly in the start of the game, that'd been 10 men.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I say,
I mean, it was just, yeah, I mean, it was bizarre the fact that he let them get away with stuff. I suppose
Mhm.
it's that thing, and I mean, it's not sour grapes on our behalf because we haven't got the result. You know, we got the result. This is just pointing out, like we said the other week, like with the Man City game, the difference, you know, with, you know, Josko Gvardiol's challenge,
Yeah.
you know, which he only got a yellow card and it was like reviewed and cleared straight away and '09 gets sent off for it, which didn't have anywhere near the force of what Guardiola's did. So it just shows, you know, like we've said that the so-called, you know, elite teams, or basically the ones that have a lot of money that can pay the referees, you know, brown envelopes and stuff,
Mhm.
um, tend to be they're far more lenient with them.
Mhm.
Whereas, you know, I'll say it, the newly promoted teams,
Mhm.
you know, that you can see why the newly promoted teams tend to struggle because they don't get a fair rub of the green.
Yeah.
You know, and you say that, you know, they're now classing, they can't call it the top four or the top six, they're now calling them the elite teams.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a load of rubbish. Everyone that plays in that division is an elite team.
Mhm.
You know, every single footballer that plays in that division is an elite athlete. You don't get to that level
Yeah.
unless you are elite. You know, so, you know, all what we want, I think, for everybody is just, you know, consistency and fairness. Treat everybody the same.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing we've got to look at as well, their front three cost a total of 195 million, and they did bot all game. That's a staggering fact in itself that three of their players was worth that much, and we controlled that game. One of the things I did like as well in regards to Mukiele, it was the fact being after the Dan Burn incident. He just picked himself up as if nothing had happened, carried on with the game, and then somebody went into him and he just stood up, looked at them. I think it was Malik Char that did it. He stood up and all that happened was Mukiele stood up, looked at him, and Malik Char was just like, I'll just walk away. And I was starting to see that a lot in our game where, and I don't know if you guys agree, because my viewing of the game was our players were not scared at all. They were not nervous. They were not fearful of, yes, it's a derby, but they weren't going in of going, we know what's happened previously. They were going in of, this is this. And obviously, we're going to touch on a little bit of who had that team talk with the lads before the game, which I'm sure you guys are really interested by. But is that me, or am I just seeing things that our team literally were like, right, come at us with all you've got. We're not scared.
I don't think it's that.
Yeah.
To me personally, I think it's Regis and the fact that he studies things and he tells the players to learn from their mistakes.
Okay.
Going back to Ronaldo against Villa, you
Yeah.
know, reacting and getting sent off.
Hmm.
Obviously Siddiqui, the way he picked up his yellow card. Trying to think who that was against now. Can't think. You know, when he lost the plot.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
sort of like then. You know, it's sort of. You know, when he obviously got fouled twice, didn't get his foul, and then, you know, picked up his, I think that was his fourth yellow, and he's been treading the, you know, tight wire since then. I think he said to them, look, you've got to be really mindful what you're doing here, because, like I said, they're not getting a fair, you know,
Mhm.
impartiality by the referees. You know,
Yeah.
the referees will pull out a yellow or a red to the, like I say, the newly promoted teams or the teams down the bottom,
Hmm.
whereas the teams nearer the top traditionally as such, you know, the Champions League team, the European teams, you know, they are far more leniently. I mean, you know, it's not very often their players get sent off nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, with VAR and the fact that challenges can be reviewed,
Hmm.
you know, and like you say, go back to the Guardiola one again, you know, City, you know, it was a horrendous challenge that,
Hmm.
and it was just cleared straight away, and it's like, well,
Hmm.
you know, if you're going to go with that intent to damage somebody, because you say, I mean, when you look at both challenges, I know it went mad online over it, but you look at both challenges, they were both at the same height.
Yeah.
It
True.
wasn't like one was higher than the other. It looked like it wasn't because obviously Mukiele was running, but you see the force that his leg was hit with and it pushed him out wide.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good job his foot wasn't planted, because if his foot's planted, that's, coming in sort of like, just below the knee, halfway up the shin, and it's breaking his leg.
Yeah, exactly. So
So like you say, I mean, you just want that consistency. So I think it's Labrie. I think he's telling the players, I think they've learned, and they're saying, look, you've got to be sensible here. You can't be over emotional. You can't react.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a couple of times, I know Traore did it, Siddiqui did it, getting the crowd up as well.
Yeah.
Which I must say, I think the crowd were fantastic.
Exactly.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, Steve sits next to me. He said in all the years, I mean, he's 65. And I call him, I always say the lad who sits next to me, he's 65 years old. He's just retired. But he said he's never heard a derby where Newcastle fans were so quiet. There was virtually nothing from them the entire game.
One thing I want to get Kev's opinion on, in regards to that, is obviously you mentioned Regis studies the game, and obviously he tells the lads of learn from, as you said, that learn from your mistakes and do get better and how to improve. Obviously, credit where credit's due to Xhaka and Siddiqui managing to once again avoid another yellow card. Perfect game for them too. Kev, what I want your thoughts on is the aftermath, the aftermath of the game. I think it was Enzo Lefebvre came out and said the game was completely different this week. We didn't have the normal talk of Granit coming in, Granit giving the lads the team talk on not just before the game and at the second half. It was actually Luke O'Nien that spoke to the team. Your thoughts on that? Or what do you think's gone behind that for Luke to actually be able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's probably a little bit of you've been here a long time. You've been here from the start of the journey.
Yeah.
You've gone through it all. You've gone through the highs and lows, the playoff against Charlton. Tell them what this means. Go and tell these players what this means. You could have easily probably pulled Dan Neil for it as well, to be fair. I think it's just because Luke's the club captain.
Yeah.
That's why he was used. But absolutely, that kind of powerful speech from a player that's done the journey that we've all gone through was probably just a little bit more of a motivating factor. And obviously, then the second part of it was then obviously Proctor's apparently given one afterwards. Well, that again is going to be from someone who's done the journey and also has played for the lads, hasn't he? So, yeah, for me, it's kind of Granite's way of saying, look, I'm the captain on the pitch, but actually these are your influential pillars in the background. And, the likes of Simon Moore, we've heard so much about how his involvement in the team in the background, whilst he's not getting game time, he's still massively involved in what goes on behind the scenes. If he's not a goalkeeping coach in the future, I don't know what is meant to be for him. But yeah, for me, it's nice that there was credit given to those in the background that weren't necessarily part of the actual match, but were a part of everything else that goes on behind the scenes. Because it's quite easy for everyone to say, oh, Regis is in charge, Regis has done this, Regis has done that. But actually, let's just talk about James Brain, the set piece coach. Newcastle did nothing with set pieces, and every time they had one, be it a corner, be it a throw-in, be it a free kick, he was in the box with Regis barking instructions up the pitch. It's all these extra people that derby meant something to them. And that's where I think, to talk about Newcastle again, that's where they got this wrong.
Yeah.
They tried to put some signage up on the away dressing room to make it look, they've decorated for us, which, get a grip. You can do what you want to your away dressing room. We don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I actually prefer the little touches. I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but we didn't announce their team lineup.
Yeah.
We didn't even put their name on the board. That's how irrelevant they were to us in this game. They deserved nothing, they brought nothing, and they left with nothing. And you know what? I hope when we go and play the return fixture in March at their place, they treat us with the same respect. I want them to be like we were with them.
Mm.
And I want us to go and do a job up there because that'll really show that we're not the easy 6 points that they claimed we were going to be. But I'm sure, Robin, you've got some thoughts and feelings on this as well.
Oh
But
yeah,
just before
that,
Robin speaks about it, I'll let Robin introduce the certain individual who was part of their allegiance, now part of our allegiance, what he got up to as well.
you've lost me there completely.
Mr. Rigg organising the whole photo
Oh,
shoot.
Wrigley, sorry, mate. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Wrigley was part of the idea to take the photo. Obviously, that hurt him because obviously that was his sort of like season when he came through in the FA Cup 2 years ago. You know, obviously, you know, he'd played Fulham and stuff and that, and you know, it's just like I think. You know, it means a lot because obviously he's from a black and white family.
Mhm.
But like the lad said, he's been at Sunderland, you know, since he was a bairn. And that's all he's ever known footballing wise. You know, and he is red and white. You know, you can see that. You know, I mean, you get it with footballers. They might grow up in a household where they're one thing. And, you know, I mean, Liverpool's famous for having Everton fans. You know, I mean, Carragher, you know, I think Gerrard was as well. You know, there's sort of like quite a few famous ones where they had this career at Liverpool and stuff. But look, let's not talk about that. You know, the visitors, you know, deserved that. You know, I mean, I must say, obviously, you know, it's nice to see Jason Tyndall as he's given up on his fake tan or his sunbeds or whatever it was. You know, I mean, he looked more like a catalogue model from the 80s than a football coach. You know, the way he was dressed and stuff like that and his hair. I mean, he must think he's some kind of rock star or something. You know, I mean, look, they deserve that. They absolutely deserve that picture. They deserve to get beat. You know, they offered nothing. I mean, but I think where previously, like you say, with you know, they have a team that normally presses high and everything. When you see, and this is saying about how good a goalkeeper Robin Roofs is, his composure, he doesn't panic. You know, even when he was pressed, he was doing it in his own time. You know, there's never once the ball got blocked. You know, going back to last season, I mean, look how many times with Pato, I'm not digging him out, by the way, lads, but look how many times with Pato, the ball got blocked.
Yeah.
You know, Ruffs will take his time. He does everything at his own pace. He finds the right pass.
Mhm.
You know, and we beat them. I mean, there was one time, I think, he knocked it out to, I think, Ballard, and Gordon was virtually on top of him. And it's like, but there's just no panic there. The lads are so much better. I mean, I think, you know, Omar Alderete must be touched on. I mean, he had some really dodgy touches in that first half.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, and there was a pass that went, and it looked like Voldemort could have intercepted it. And like sort of Ballard went to it and stopped, and it caused Voldemort to do the same, and the ball ran through to Ballard.
Yeah.
You know, which I must say was absolutely immense. I mean, obviously, you know, it's Monday night now we're recording this, and obviously the Monday night football team of the week come up, and it's Roofs, Mukiela, Ballard, I think Murillo from Forest, and then Reinildo. You know,
Yeah.
so we've got 4 out of 5 players in the team of the week, and obviously, you know, Granit Xhaka in the midfield.
Exactly.
You know, who I must say he deserved all the plaudits he was getting and people singing about him. Absolutely immense, considering I think Mary Poppins said in the week that not a single Sunderland player would get in that Newcastle team. Well, I'm sorry, but you know, if you weren't so arrogant like most of them, you might learn something about football.
Well, remember they've got the best midfielder in the Premier League. Remember, what did he do all game?
I have a question. Has
Go on,
anyone
then.
checked Tonali's betting odds? I wonder if he had a bet on for Baltimore to score and Newcastle to lose 1-0. I bet he'd have got
Yeah.
some good odds on that.
Well, I think there was one of their YouTubers or whatever vloggers did predict that Voltamada would score the first goal.
He
And was
did,
it a
yeah.
header?
Yeah,
And it was
and
a
said
header.
a
Yeah,
header,
he
yeah.
did say that. I must say, because we touched on it earlier on, what a header.
Yeah. Thanks for
I mean, what a header. To me, that's not a defensive header.
Yeah.
He actually looked like he was trying to score that. The way he attacked that ball,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he got confused and he didn't realise that at half time you'd change ends because he seemed to attack it. Normally, when you're defending a header, you normally try and get underneath it and lift it over.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He sort of like went and powered it. And I mean, yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. And it's one of those, it goes in off the underside of the bar, it bounces down in at the top of the net, like Ballard's did against Coventry in the playoff semi-final, and it just looks absolutely amazing. Obviously, the stadium erupted.
Yeah. I had
I
this
mean, the
conversation with a few
scenes, the
lads at work about it.
limbs, it was,
I,
yeah,
I had that
what?
conversation with lads at work saying, myself as a defender, you just hit the nail on the head, Robin. The ball comes over like that. The one thing you want to do, if you're going to do that, you flick it over your head to try and flick it over the bar. To me, I've never seen a more perfect header in my life. Bar Ballards.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, you see the way that we defended balls
Yeah,
coming in. We were helping it on, putting some air underneath it to stop anyone getting, any contact with it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, as well, while we're talking about crosses and stuff coming in the box, I must say, Robin Ruffs, the way he was out, I mean, it was one of their free kicks. I can't remember who took it now. And he was catching the ball on the edge of the area. He came out, and I thought, obviously from where I sit, I thought, I hope he's not carrying that out the box. And for a player or a goalkeeper to actually come out that far to catch that ball,
Yeah,
shows the ability and the confidence in that lad. I mean, 22 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you've got to think. He's 22 years old. He played, one season, really, before he came to us? And now he's coming, in the Premier League, and he's easily one of the best goalkeepers in it.
Mm-hmm. He's proven to be a handful. Pardon the pun.
Like, say his confidence, everything, and his distribution. How Voltamada never got booked for stopping him releasing the ball, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like 3 or 4 occasions he stopped him releasing the ball. Now, it's an automatic booking.
Mm-hmm.
And he complained to the referee about it as well. And it was just waved away.
Yeah.
Just waved away. Not even, Voltamada was spoken to about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing Chow was doing. Every time Roof's tried to do something with the ball to try and move the game quickly, he either got in the way or he did what he did, which was, like I say, he donked him on the back of the head. I felt that was their only way of trying to get in the game, was to try and kind of either injure someone or try and get the fouls totted up. And that's the big thing for me. But I think, is it cruel to say they got their own just desserts with Dan Burn? Like you say, he's now rumoured to be out. I think you mentioned it a minute ago, didn't you, Robin? He's going to be out for 6 weeks with potential broken rib.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is...
I thought it was us that were meant to be missing players that were going to the AFCON.
Oh, exactly, yeah. That was one of the things for me was... We had it all before the game, didn't we? And all before the whole kick-off of, you're not going to have all your players because majority of your players are going to be off to AFCON and stuff like that. Okay, fair enough. That could have been the case, but we've kept hold of the majority of them. Well, sorry, all of them, should I say? And all of them played a really important role in that game, which was really good to see. And for me, it was a perfect performance all round for us. Obviously, things could have been tweaked a little bit better, as you said, Robin. Alderete made a few sloppy passes earlier on in the game and things like that, but that's something Regis will get him to a side with the rest of the team and go, this is where things can improve at the back a little bit. Be careful when you're playing it back. If you're playing it back to say another teammate, the defence, or you're playing it back to keep it. Small little things like that, isn't it, really? Ultimately, though, we've beaten them. What they thought was going to be easy 3 points. I've heard there's been reports of floods in Newcastle today. Anybody else can confirm that?
Well, I
We
mean,
lost
for
you there,
me,
Kev.
yeah, muted there. Sorry, lads. The dog was having a funny 5 minutes. No, I just said my coffee tasted lovely this morning. It was made from Geordie Tears. So I don't know if it's quite flooded, but yeah, they certainly are still crying about it. And I
I
mean,
must,
even if you go on social media now, lads, they are still
Yeah.
moaning about what didn't go
Mm.
right for them.
yeah. I think you're right, though, Adam. I think that, and they were right. It was an easy 3 points because I think that's the most comfortable derby
Mhm.
that I've seen for quite some time.
Yeah,
Even when you go back, even when we won 3-0,
mhm.
you know, at St James's and that, and I think who was it? Barini, who was it? Oh,
Barini, Vaughan, and
Vaughan. That
Fletcher.
was it. David Vaughan, and yeah,
Was it
even
Fletcher on
then,
that one?
no, is it not Adam Johnson?
Yes. Oh, yeah, it was because he got accused of doing the aeroplane.
Yeah, he shouldn't be named anymore or something. But yeah, even that game, I mean, it was sort of like they had more fight about them.
Yes.
It's just like they just basically laid down and
Mhm.
didn't put up any resistance whatsoever. It could just be that we just were much better.
Yeah. I
I
wonder.
don't think it was a game like loads of quality and stuff, but Xhaka controlled that midfield.
Yeah.
Absolutely controlled that midfield.
Like
You
a
know,
real
we were
captain should.
we were knocking that ball about, like I say, for the first hour. We
Yeah.
were knocking that ball about with, absolutely nothing. And when they did get the ball, you know, they didn't seem to control it. Obviously, Claire Balding, looked like could have been through on goal at one point and then just kicked the ball straight out for a goal kick, and
Mm.
got a few cheers. I mean,
And
it's just, yeah. I mean, we could go on forever, to be honest,
we
with
kind of
this.
do.
But, for me coming back, first time since, I think it was Brentford at home, first time being back in the stadium. Um, yeah, what a game to come back to.
Definitely.
So I'll thank the lads personally for that one.
Definitely. I do want to say a massive shout out to King Trey Hume as well, because that last minute tackle just reminded me of the playoff final. Ran out of steam, and just in his words, I couldn't be arsed. Wiped somebody out instead. It was just the top of the icing on the cake for me in that game. But no, lads, let's draw that to a close after a phenomenal win. Robin, thank you very much, mate. It was a pleasure seeing you again and travelling all that way.
Yeah, no, thank you. And obviously, it's good to see you and Kev again before the match. Obviously, it's a shame it was Sunday, like Kev said, because, if it had been a Saturday, would have probably stayed up and, had a few beers with you lads, but it wasn't the case, unfortunately.
Indeed. And likewise, Kev, once again, thanks for seeing you, man, and thanks for joining us tonight.
My pleasure. Sorry, I've been quite quiet tonight, lads. Yeah, puppy's teething, so it's ended up in me having to be muted a fair bit and just chipping in here and there, or talking to myself, as it seems. But now, what a game, what a result. Obviously, mind the gap still. Was it Ando? Obviously, I don't know who listens to BBC Newcastle on that listens to us, but Ando had predicted that they would be above us come the derby, and it was only because of a freak opportunity that Tottenham scored that prevented it from happening. Well, the gap's still there.
Yeah.
Indeed.
One final thing just before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
We've got to remind all our fans, because they like to, that we haven't played anybody yet.
We still haven't.
No, exactly. I don't. It'll come round eventually. That will place somebody in the league. I don't know who, but no, lads. Pleasure as always. Those up the road, mind the gap. Thank you for the 3 points, and we'll see you on the next one.